particularly about these
so
files.
let me tell you.
Well, hang on, let me finish. Please let me ask you a question.
You asked
right?
me,
And my question is this. Well, because I haven't asked you a question. So the way this works is I host, I have people on the panel, I ask you a question, and then you answer.
Moments like this reveal far more than the words themselves. When someone is asked a simple, direct question, one that most people would answer without hesitation, the response, or lack of it, becomes its own form of evidence. Because silence, avoidance, or withdrawal often signals something deeper than disagreement. And what follows in this interview only intensifies that pattern as claims, defenses, and established facts begin colliding in real time.
Well, joining the panel now is Andrew's confidant, Lady Victoria Hervey. We spoke last week, Victoria. I just wanted to get an insight from you about what you have gleaned, maybe the mental state of Andrew, how he is in himself. He's obviously lost pretty much everything. His wife has gone into hiding. His kids haven't been seen. It's the haunting picture of him coming out of the police station has gone around the world as one of the most shameful images of a royal in history. What are you hearing about him and how he is?
First of all, I think that the photographer, taking a photo like that, I think that is shameful, to be honest. Someone in Andrew's position having just left, or you're just leaving the police station and, you're obviously hiding from the photographers. Of course, you're going to have a red eye and it's going to look bad. I mean, for people to be gleefully sort of enjoying this purge, I think it's sick. I think it's demented. I think it's deranged. And at what point is this going to stop? Is this going to be like, that girl from Love Island that they went after and she finally killed herself? Do you know what I mean? Like, how far is this going to go?
Well, I do, but I also think my response would be, as a former tabloid newspaper editor, is that the royal family. Oh, well, hang on, let me finish my point. Is that the royal family court the media when it suits them. The whole deal with the media is that the media promotes the royal family and the monarchy in a way that I think sustains their future. Without media coverage, the monarchy would simply disappear and be irrelevant and die. So my point being, well, hang on.
Yeah.
Here, the disagreement begins with framing. One side focuses on sympathy, while the other focuses on accountability.
You can't turn the tap on and off when it suits you. And frankly, I can't think of a more legitimate reason why the media would photograph a member of the royal family than that a member of the royal family is leaving a police station after being arrested for what could turn out to be treasonous acts of passing business secrets that they gleaned as a trade envoy for the UK government to a convicted paedophile. Yeah. So, I won't have any truck with those who say the picture shouldn't have been taken. It might be a haunting image, but the idea no one would take it or publish it is ridiculous.
I just think, the fact that Tobin Andrea, who was at the Daily Mail, who joined the palace, who is head of comms at the palace, I just feel like that is a huge conflict of interest, to be honest, that there's obviously information.
Why?
Well, there's information being fed. The photographers that were there at 7:30 a.m. The
had nothing to do with Tobin and. Well, hang on.
It was a setup by the Daily Mail.
Okay, but Victoria, you're very good at saying stuff, but you have to then let me actually counter it with reality. I know Tobin Andre. He was at the Daily Mail as a senior executive for many years. He's gone to run comms
since
for the
2022
palace, for the king. For the king. And there is absolutely zero suggestion that he had anything to do with any of this. In fact, the photographer who's from Reuters has explained in painstaking detail how he came to be where he was, and it was pure chance that put it this way, if Tobin Andre from the palace wanted the photographers to get the picture, there'd have been a lot more than one of them there by chance.
But anyway, like getting back to, because we've now drifted off from the original questions, and you were saying to me, well, how do you think he's actually feeling? I mean, how do you think he's feeling? At this point, he is literally being crucified. And it has become like a blood sport. I said that on my Twitter the other day, that it feels like a blood sport and he is being hounded. And when is this actually going to stop? You know, no one's actually thinking about, okay, what is his mental health? Right now, the facts are Virginia Giuffre, so this is completely separate, obviously. This has nothing to do with the sex scandal that he was accused of, that nothing was ever proven. This is, you know, more serious. Peter Mandelson's role, though, was way higher. Andrew was actually not even an official diplomat. You know, it was more a sort of, it was a role that he took on, but it wasn't official. I think it's a huge distraction.
It wasn't. No, hang on.
Wait, one second. Let me talk.
Wait a minute.
This was a huge distraction from Keir Starmer and Peter Mandelson.
Victoria, you can't say these things without correction. He was an official government trade envoy. He may not have been a member of the British cabinet like Mandelson, but he was an official trade envoy, and I think that's the key part.
But
I mean,
not
Bianca,
in a hugely official capacity like Mandelson.
Well, you're
completely
either official.
Different.
Well, you're right.
But
well,
don't
actually,
you think this
Bianca.
Don't you think this is
well,
a huge distraction from Keir Starmer right now?
No, I don't. I think it's got nothing to do with it. But Bianca, from that point, I mean, to me, Mandelson and Andrew. I don't know why we call one by his surname, one by the other.
We'll just call him Prince Andrew because the Mountbatten thing is way too long.
Well, he's not Prince Andrew anymore,
well,
so let's call him Mountbatten
Prince
Windsor.
Andrew.
Well, he won't always be Prince Andrew because he's no longer Prince Andrew. That's
Piers
the point.
Morgan, what's your real name? You're not called Piers Morgan, are you? So, you know.
Well, if you want to know my full surname, it's Pew Morgan, double-barreled. I dropped the Pew when I became a journalist because I got more bylines without it.
Right.
But I still have that on my passport. I still have that on my passport.
But I think it's just easier to call him Prince Andrew, you know.
But he's not. No, he literally has had the word Prince removed from his titles. That's the whole
point.
point.
With that name, like
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He's no longer a prince. You may want him to be. He's not a prince. Let me bring in Bianca here. I mean, look, I'm not living in cloud cuckoo land, right? He's had. Well, yes, Victoria, I'll come back to you, but you're part of a 4-person panel. So if you could show some respect to your fellow panel members. And just to remind you, if you do say outlandish things, I'm going to challenge them. So it's up to you.
At this point, the tension shifts from general claims to specific factual corrections.
So let me come back to Victoria Hervey. I mean, in a way, his response is not entirely...
I have a lot I wanted
hang
to
on.
talk
Let me ask you a question. Yeah, the way this works is I ask you questions. Okay. But, you know, in a way, I don't think you care particularly about these files.
So let me tell you...
Well, hang on. Let me finish. Please let me ask you a question.
You asked
right?
me
And my question is this. Well, because I haven't asked you a question. So the way this works is I host, I have people on the panel, I ask you a question, and then you answer. If you want to jump in before the question's asked, it doesn't work. Okay? Here's my question for you. You know, Mark Epstein has just hung up because I had the audacity to ask him if he cares about the victims of his brother. It's a pretty telling, shocking moment, frankly. The least he can do is say, yeah, of course I do. But he couldn't bring himself to do it for whatever reason. And he can live with his answer. In your case, the one thing I'd say, I've known you a long time, right? We've always got on well. But I really felt a while ago, you went down a path with these victims of Epstein where you just decided none of it was true. It was all a witch hunt, all a stitch-up. Andrew was completely innocent. And in Virginia Giuffre's case in particular, you've been so scathing about her. And you specifically said the picture of her with Andrew was fake. She never had sex with him. It's all lies. Just on those 2 points alone, we now know from the files 2 things. One, the picture is genuine, confirmed by Ghislaine Maxwell in the files. And secondly, it's confirmed that they had a sexual relationship. That is confirmed in correspondence involving Jeffrey Epstein. So on those 2 significant points alone, has this not given you pause for thought?
Now the discussion narrows to verifiable claims, where statements can be directly compared with documented records.
That you might just be backing the wrong horse here.
Okay, can I start? Calmly.
Yeah.
Right. So I absolutely, you know, if for any real victims out there, I have a huge sympathy for any real victims. The problem is, when I started looking into the case, I found that the main girls that were escalated into the media by the lawyers were not real victims. And this is where I had my issue about it. Now, Virginia Giuffre, she recanted her story on multiple people, Harvard professor, Alan Dershowitz, there was even the granddaughter of Jacques Cousteau that had never met her. She made up a lot of stories. She got busted. She then changed her stories and she said, oh, no, I never went to New Mexico with Prince Andrew, when she had given graphic information and talked about horse rides and drinking champagne. And then she said, oh, it never happened. Now, that is one of the reasons I never believed Virginia, because there was just so much information out there.
Victoria, here's the problem.
I come with
Virginia
with
Giuffre,
facts.
Let me finish my point.
And you do not have the facts.
Fine, you don't have facts. You don't have facts. Let me just put to you this. Virginia Giuffre in that picture with Andrew was 17 years old.
It's not a real photo,
right?
Piers. Come on.
It is a real photo. Ghislaine Maxwell confirmed it.
We had Piers, 1 second.
It's confirmed.
We had this conversation 2 weeks ago, and I said that was a draft statement done by her PR, and it was never used.
This is the problem, though. This is the problem. You're not going to believe anything that disproves your bonkers theory that this is all some great stitch-up.
Listen to me 1 second. Why would Ghislaine lie to the DOJ? Ghislaine told the DOJ and in that prison interview there are over 50 things wrong with that photo. Why would she lie to the DOJ when she's trying to get out of jail? She's not going to do that.
We've literally seen in their own words in the files the picture's genuine and that they had a sexual relationship.
Listen.
You still have your blinkers on. You don't want to believe it.
And
my advice to you is there's going to be a point with this where you have to stop trashing these victims. I'm just giving you some advice. As someone who's known you a long time, victim trashing in this and protecting the villains, whether it's Epstein, whether it's Andrew, whether it's whatever, there comes a point when reality has to hit fantasy world. And I think we've hit that point.
Virginia was a fake victim.
Right, she wasn't a fake victim.
She was a fake victim.
And the way you go after her, I find repellent. All right.
What makes this exchange significant is not the intensity, but the structure. Throughout the discussion, we see a consistent pattern emerge. Claims are presented confidently, but when those claims are measured against independently confirmed records, the gap between assertion and verification becomes increasingly visible. This is not unusual in high-stakes public controversies. People often rely on interpretation, personal belief, or loyalty to shape their conclusions. But factual records operate differently. They do not depend on personal conviction. They exist independently of it. Another revealing moment occurs when a simple question about empathy leads to an abrupt exit from the conversation entirely. That reaction, in itself, becomes part of the public record, because in debates like this, participation matters. Remaining engaged signals confidence in one's position. Disengaging, especially in response to a direct and reasonable question, leaves unanswered implications behind. What this interview ultimately demonstrates is the difference between defending a position and substantiating it. One relies on repetition, the other relies on verifiable confirmation. And when those two approaches collide in real time, viewers are left to observe which one remains stable under scrutiny. This is why moments like these resonate far beyond the interview itself. They offer a rare opportunity to see how arguments evolve, how claims are challenged, and how individuals respond when their assertions are directly tested against documented evidence. Not through emotion, but through observable reasoning. What do you think about this exchange? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss future analysis.